The world is full of urban legends, remarkable stories that spread like viruses around the planet, mutating and evolving until no one can remember which ones are true and which ones are urban legends. In this episode called Stolen Dreams, you'll see 3 stories of deep desires that turn into dark nightmares. First up, Tasmita Hanif falls into the clutches of a thief who wants to steal a lot more than money. Then a dream vacation in Ireland ends with a hangover no one can believe. And finally, a wealthy family dreams that their name will last for generations, but cruel fate has other plans. Watch all 3 stories and decide which ones are true and which ones are false. Find out if you guessed right at the end of the show. First, it's a story we like to call Pregnancy Predator. Tasmita Hanif seems like any young woman. She likes to be pampered. It's hard to believe she was involved in one of the most shocking stories in South African history.
I do have moments where I'm like, no, can't be me.
Back in 2000, 16-year-old Tasmita was 7.5 months pregnant. Then one fateful day, she meets a woman who will change her life forever.
She introduced herself as Lazarine, and that she's new in town and she didn't know everybody in the area.
Lazarine is also pregnant, and the 2 girls hit it off. A week later, they meet at Tasmita's to hang out.
She was very interested in my pregnancy, which I found a bit strange because whenever I asked her questions about herself, she would like to change the subject.
Tasmita asks again about Lazarine's pregnancy, but she doesn't want to talk anymore. Instead, Lazarine suggests that they go to the mall, but Tasmita has to check with her father first.
Well, firstly, he said, Taz, you don't know this woman and you can't be walking around. I mean, you're 7.5 months pregnant, anything can happen. And to me, it was like, Dad, please, I'm bored. All my friends are at school, we're just going to the town center. Please, just let me go.
Her dad finally gives in. The girls head out. On the way, Lazarine tells Tasmita she wants to go home and get her bank card. It's a small detour that seems innocent enough. But inside, Lazarine announces she has a surprise.
I'm like, that's so sweet, thank you. So she said, I want to give it to you, but I'm shy. You must close your eyes. I don't know, all of a sudden, I just felt funny. And she started saying things like, you're a good person, and you have a wonderful family who loves and supports you, and your boyfriend, and you're about to become a mother. I'm like, okay. And she's like, yeah, you have everything I want. And then the next thing I felt was a knife against my throat.
Get up!
Please don't hurt.
Shut up!
And she said, if I scream, she'll hurt me. So I said, you can take whatever you want, just don't hurt me.
But Lazarine has other ideas. It's the stuff of nightmares.
I was scared, but more shocked, because I was still trying to figure out what's going on here. Only when she started cutting on my stomach that I realized that that's the only thing that she wants.
Incredibly, Lazarine isn't pregnant at all. She recently had a miscarriage and is terrified her boyfriend will leave her if he finds out. She's been disguising the fact with padding. And now Lazarine is going through with a horrifying solution, passing Tasmita's baby off as her own.
She got him out, and then it was quiet. The room was quiet. I'm like, why is this baby not crying? Lord, please don't tell me something happened to the baby, please. And then I just heard a baby cry. And I was like, thank you, Lord, thank you.
Against all odds, both mother and baby are alive.
She said that she was going to take me to my mom. I thought, no, she's lying. She's going to go leave me somewhere to die.
Despite her shocking injuries, Tasmita manages to follow Lazarine outside.
We were about to cross the road, and then she just ran over the road and left me. And I had to run after her.
But the nightmare isn't over. Lazarine attacks again.
And as I was laying there, I could feel like I felt like I was dying. The next thing I hear is the voice of this boy. And asking me, what's wrong? What happened? I said, she stabbed me. She took my baby. My baby's in a bag. Please run after.
Passing in and out of consciousness, Tasmita can do nothing but despair.
I mean, this child is depending on me to keep him safe. And look what's happening now. I felt like failure, like I'm not able to protect him and help him. I felt helpless.
But incredibly, there soon comes a light in the dark.
The eldest one who ran after her came back, and I could see that he had my son in his arms. And I was like, okay, at least he got my child back. So now it's up to me, Lord, please just give me strength.
Against all odds, Tasmita survives her horrific injuries. Even more amazing, her baby boy also lives. Lazarine is caught and arrested, but this gruesome attack will haunt Tasmita for the rest of her life.
It's not something you get over. You get better in time, but it's not something you get over.
So is this story of a baby stolen from his mother's womb terrifyingly true? Or did we pull the wool over your eyes? We'll let you know at the end of the show. But before then, check out this mini-myth. Mini-myth number 2, weight drop. A Swedish diet group was holding their weekly weigh-in, but had to change venues at the last minute. The 20 fatties made it up the stairs to the new second-story location. But before they could weigh in, the floor collapsed under the extra heavy load. Is this story true or false? It was true. Fortunately for our chubby friends, no one was injured, and they've made a meal of the story ever since. On Urban Legends, we show you 3 stories. You have to decide which ones really happened and which ones are merely legends. So far, you've seen the twisted tale of a pregnant predator who steals a baby right from his mother's womb. But is it real or fake? We'll let you know at the end of the show. Now it's time for our next story. It's called Beer Goggles. 32-year-old Malcolm Warings is always looking for his next adventure. In 1998, that meant backpacking across Ireland with his best friend Jeremy. But like many 18-year-olds, the two plan to check out more than just the scenery.
So it's always been kind of our goal to sow our wild oats and everything. And that's sort of the purpose of the trip.
Little did they know that just one night in Ireland would change their lives forever.
Needless to say, we were quite surprised when we actually got there to find out what we were dealing with in Cork.
It was the first of many surprises, culminating in one surprise that would put their friendship to the ultimate test. Their journey began in an out-of-the-way corner of Cork County.
Oh, right, you know. Thank you.
Their B&B's owner wants to show off her dolls and doilies, but these horny hitchhikers have other priorities.
Is there like a pub around here? Frankin' and skankin'.
The pub looked completely authentic. It looked like something right out of a movie. When we actually went into the pub itself, we were pretty surprised. It seemed like the youngest person in there was probably about 50 years old. We're obviously quite disappointed because we'd shown up to actually pick up ladies. We figured we might as well make the best of it.
2 of your finest Irish ales.
The boys aren't afraid to pound back pints with pensioners.
Cheers.
I got up to my old tricks and ordered a couple pints for a couple of the gentlemen that were around the bar. Just wanted to start, keep some of the momentum going.
After 4 hours, the old-timers have nearly drunk them under the table.
Jeremy and I both have pretty much had our body weight at this point, and all of a sudden the barmaid starts to look really, really good. And that was around the time where we figured it was probably time to pack it in. I still don't really know how we made it back. All I know is that both of us were kind of supporting each other, trying to make it back, trying to remember where we were staying that night. So by the time I actually got down to breakfast the next morning, just had a massive headache, really didn't feel too well.
Morning.
Jeremy seemed a little bit out of character. It's like he seemed really, really anxious and had barely even touched his breakfast, and he seemed to really want to go.
Just finish your coffee and let's get out of here.
I just figured he was just hungover.
I hope you've had a very nice time now.
Thank you very much.
And she gave Jeremy a big, big hug and asked him for his address. And I just figured it was to send like an invoice.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
5 years later, the trip is a distant memory, and the two friends have drifted apart.
So we both got jobs that took us in slightly different directions, and it became harder and harder for us to keep in touch.
But one day, Malcolm gets a special delivery that changes everything.
I decided that I should get in touch with Jeremy, and we could sort of work out what we were going to do about the situation.
I'm glad you called me, man. Yeah. No way.
So we had the usual chit-chat for a while.
Then Malcolm makes an incredible announcement.
By the way, I got a letter from the B&B in Cork.
She just left me $1 million.
I've just inherited $1 million.
$1 million?
Why would she do that?
I don't know. I mean,
Malcolm shows Jeremy the letter,
about this.
but there's something he hasn't told him.
And I found this all kind of weird. The note at the very bottom said thank you for the night of passion, lover. It was from the proprietor of the establishment. And I got to thinking to myself, like, how drunk was I that night? I just wanted to know what happened.
Do you have any idea what this is about?
I've never seen anyone look so sick to his stomach in my entire life.
Then the penny starts to drop.
About that night,
And I started to put the pieces together. You know, Jeremy not coming to bed right away, on his behavior at breakfast the next morning, the fact that she asked him for his address.
Malcolm is beginning to think the unthinkable.
You slept with the old lady for the bed breakfast? Dude.
okay.
But if Jeremy slept with the old lady, why did Malcolm inherit her money?
And then it occurred to me, he gave her my address.
Jeremy was so embarrassed about giving it to Grandma that he gave her Malcolm's name and address. It's been a bad day for Jeremy. He did all the hard work, but got none of the cash.
I'd been the receiver of it. I could have kept the whole thing to myself and kind of sailed off into the sunset.
But Malcolm decides his buddy has suffered enough. They split the $1 million.
We'd both shared this experience. Admittedly, my experience wasn't, quite as uncomfortable as his would have been. But because the letter was addressed, was in my name, and because the actual entitlement was in my name, we essentially agreed to split the money.
500,000. 500,000.
It seems the luck of the Irish has blessed these body backpackers. But did it really happen? Or have we seduced you into a lie? You'll have to wait to the end of the show to find out. But before then, take a look at this mini-myth. Mini-myth number 467. Wrong number. Between 2004 and 2008, Boris Tashenko, Anya Marinenko, and Tatyana Kuchin shared two things. They'd all been given the same cell phone number, and within a year of getting that number, they all died. All from different causes, but always while speaking on the phone. Once news of the coincidence spread, the number was withdrawn from service. Was it true or false? This tale is totally false. Hopefully, you didn't buy this nonsense number. On Urban Legends, we show you 3 incredible stories. Your job is to sort the terrifically true from the farcically false. So far, you've seen the story of Tasmita Hanif, the victim of a brutal baby snatcher. And the story of a horny hitchhiker who gave an old lady an unforgettable night, only to have her remember him in her will. But which of these stories are the real thing? All will be revealed at the end of the show. Now it's time for our final story. We call this one Dust to Dust. Former paramedic Jerry Gray is not the type of guy who lets anything spoil his chi. But there is one tragedy he'll never forget.
I have not heard of anything like this before, no.
This is a tragic tale of some of southern Colorado's most famous residents, a family named Ford.
They were successful in community, they were successful in business.
They were the first to go out of their way to help other people that were in need.
But in 1998, disaster strikes. Lenore Ford dies in a mysterious car accident. But for the Fords, the tragedy wasn't to end there. A month later, Jerry gets a call.
The page came across on the pager that there'd been a plane crash at the Pearl Lakes Club. So I began responding from north of town.
Jerry doesn't know it yet, but the true cause of this plane crash will leave his small town speechless.
The plane was located a ways from the nearest road. And so responders drove as far as they could, and then people hiked in on foot.
When paramedics arrive at the scene, they can't believe what they find. All of the remaining Ford men have been killed in the crash.
To have the remaining male members of the family brought down, it's hugely tragic.
In the space of just 5 weeks, the family has been almost entirely wiped out. But the tragedy is also a mystery. What brought down the plane?
There's a report of police saw the plane coming in low, made a circle over the area, and came back around for another pass. And as it was banking to make the turn, there's a report of people seeing a cloud pass behind the airplane. And moments later, the airplane went into a flat spin and then cartwheeled into the trees.
These reports provide a possible solution.
They found a tan and gritty to the touch powder distributed universally over the inside of the cabin. Some of my responders thought that it was a fire dispersal system.
An aircraft fire prevention system used too late? That's what everyone believes at first.
But it turns out that there was no such fire suppression system in place, and there were no engine problems with the plane.
The cause of the crash is still a mystery, and a bigger question remains. Why were all the Ford brothers on a plane at the same time? The answers will defy belief.
The family had Lenore cremated, and the purpose of this flight was to scatter the ashes at the family homestead.
But this heartfelt tribute is far more hazardous than the Ford brothers realize.
Lenore would never have wanted that to happen. She would not have wanted her family to take a risk like that.
It takes 30 minutes to reach the Ford family cabins, the place Lenore spent many happy summers.
The plane approached the area where the cabins were at and made one loop and was coming back for a second loop.
But scattering their mother's ashes while flying at 100 kilometers per hour is no simple matter.
Ashes can blow back in a moving airplane, very much like when you try to throw something out the window of a moving car.
The puff of smoke or the cloud that passed behind the airplane that witnesses stated may well have been the ashes of Lenore. It's very likely that ashes blew back inside the cockpit, disorienting and disabling the pilot just long enough to cause the plane to stall.
In seconds, all of Lenore's sons meet their final end.
I believe that this was a hugely ironic incident. The loss of those 4 particular family members to this clan basically wiped out a generation of the Ford family.
An act meant to honor their dead mother claims the lives of all her sons. But did it really happen? Or did we just blow smoke in your eyes? It's time to reveal the truth about our 3 incredible stories. First up, it's the tale of the pregnant woman who fell prey to a twisted baby snatcher. But did it happen?
Hi, I'm Tasmira Hanif. This is my son Tariq, and this is a true story.
Cesarean kidnappings may sound like urban legend, but they're horribly true and often fatal. Miraculously, both Tasmira and her son survived this gruesome assault. Her attacker was found unfit to stand trial. Next, it's a story of drinking buddies Jeremy and Malcolm, who inherit $1 million after one of them has an unforgettable romp with a retiree. But is it true?
Inheriting $1 million is a real dream come true. But I wouldn't know. It's fake.
This myth has been around for ages, probably because we want to believe drunken stupidity can pay off. But usually, all you get is a horrible hangover. And finally, there's a story of the Ford family, ironically taken down by their mother's remains. But now that the dust has settled, are you convinced?
My name is Jerry Gray. I'm Hinsdale County Coroner, and this is a true story.
Tragically, that plane crash of 1998 wiped out a generation of Ford family men. This story is true. It even inspired pilot Bonnie Hardin to create a special device to allow family members to scatter their loved ones' ashes from the air without putting their own lives at risk. That's the end of our episode called Stolen Dreams. Were you able to separate the righteously right from the ridiculously wrong? Don't worry if you couldn't. You'll get another chance to separate fact from fiction in the next installment of Urban Legends.